Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
C'est moi. I'm watching too much Olympics. Speaking French. How you doing? Welcome to the program. Whoa. I don't want to be a spoiler if you watch the Olympics late at night, but turns out Simone Biles is a human. Just saying. Also, just starting things off a little slowly because tomorrow I know we're all on tenterhooks about who Kamala Harris is going to choose as her running mate. What the hell are tenterhooks? If we're on them. Don't you think if you're on something, you know what they were? We're all on tenterhooks. Actually, I know. Because I had this thought yesterday when I thought, oh, I'm on tenterhooks, I thought to myself. And so I Googled them. It turns out that tenterhooks are used in the stretching of cloth. Maybe while cloth is being made, it holds them and stretches them. And I suspect then that also still, so if you're on tenterhooks, you're being stretched. Why would that mean nervous? I said I Googled it, but I guess I didn't read it enough. Okay, so anyway, but that's what a tenterhook is, in case it ever occurred to you to wonder. Speaking of wondering, I have to throw one more thing your way out of the confusion of my mind. I was knitting. Yes, I was knitting in the last few weeks. And I'm not a good knitter. I know how to do the basics. And I was doing it, and as I was doing it and watching this yarn, this just string of yarn become something else and something useful, I thought to myself, good God, what genius figured out knitting? I mean, that's a genius that changed the world, whose name we will never know, right? No one knows who put two sticks together and put some yarn on one of them. And for that matter, who figured out how to take a sheep and make yarn out of them? Good God. And then, not kill them and then keep making yarn out of them. And then if it came, to it, you could kill them and eat them. But geez, the geniuses that never got their due. I'm just saying, Einstein, I know you're smart as hell, but move over, buddy. Enough already. Newton, they're almost all men, right? White men. What geniuses discovered all this basic stuff so long ago? And nobody knows. We don't pay homage to them. I got to tell you, a single knitting stitch is a wonder. So anyway, I just want to take a moment there to thank all of these unknowns that preceded us that made our lives better. They never got their due. Okay, why am I getting a bunch of chat here from you guys? Does anyone know who will perform the role this coming January 6th that Mike Pence played if Kamala, who's the vice president, is elected president? This thought did occur to me. I would assume she will play the role. Let us recall there have to have been other vice presidents. Think of the last sitting vice president who became the president. Usually it's, not a lot of them pulled it off. But who's the last one who did? George W. Bush? No, George H.W. Bush? If the vice president is presiding over the Senate, that's it. And if this is that it was really such a ceremonial little just flourish at the end when everyone knows it's just sort of a ceremonial thing that the vice president announces, and here is the tally. We've got all the states reporting, and the winner is, and yeah, she'd have to say her own name. Now, if you can imagine the caterwauling on the right, if this does occur, so I'm going to assume that she still could cede that position to whoever is her second whoever who would be the next second to whoever's second to the president of the Senate. There has to be some senator who steps in. I don't worry about that. Although that'll just be one thing that the loons will be braying about, mixing my animal metaphors, right? But I did think of that. How odd, how deliciously odd, um, and how wonderful that it'll just blow the minds of the MAGA crowd. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Just saying. Okay, so before we get into the vice president's thing, who the hell knows? See, I mean, this again, the speculation stuff. I saw somewhere on social media that Kentucky Governor Brashear had cleared his calendar for Tuesday, leading to speculation that he was the choice. Um, guys, well, we've been conditioned to expect to know everything immediately. And, give it a breath. We'll find out. I don't know. Do we know a time? We'll find out tomorrow. And then we can all start arguing about, was that the right choice? Oh my God, if she'd chosen this one, it would have been this, that, and the other thing. Oh God, I get so weary. Don't you? All right, Bree, I love you, buddy. Bree, hey, Bree, tell us where you are these days. Are you still in Malaysia or are you in, I don't know. Bree has been listening to me since he was a college student 100 years ago. And he ended up, living far, far, far away. And Bree is absolutely adamant that we get our YouTube subscriber number to 1,000. You can listen to this and not be a subscriber, but Bree has yet to tell me what magical thing will happen when I hit 1,000, which he tells us is just 26 subscriptions away. So let's get over the line. Okay? Will like confetti start falling from my ceiling here? I wonder. Anyway, there's all that. What else? Here's something I have to talk about before we get into other stuff. That extraordinary prisoner swap. All those folks, at least on our side, that were held, for no good reason other than to prove to be hostage material. But of all the things that we saw or read about when the swap occurred, there is one picture that haunts me. I cannot get it out of my head. And it does not have to do with any of the Americans that were released. Nobody on our side. It's on the other side, the people who Russia got back and who Putin greeted at the airport. And it was a picture of Putin and a bewildered looking, I think, 9-year-old girl clutching a bouquet of flowers to her chest, which Putin had given her, holding her mother's hand, her brother, younger, behind her, holding his father's hand. And I can't get that child's face out of my head. Here is a child who was living in Slovenia, I believe. And her parents, she, as far as she knew, was an Argentinian. She'd come with her parents from Argentina. They'd gone to Slovenia for business. Her parents had different jobs. Her mother, an art gallery that did no business. Her father, I can't remember. And these two children grew up there in Slovenia. Never hearing a word of Russian spoken. They spoke Spanish at home. They were Argentinian. And then one day, not too long ago, the police came to their home and took both her parents away. And she and her brother ended up in the state's care, in foster care. And there they were until just the other day, when lo and behold, someone came to the place they were being held in foster care, and lo and behold, it was her mom and her dad. And they retrieved them and took them to the airport. And only when they were on the airplane did the parents tell these children that they were going to Russia and that they were, in fact, Russians. I can't imagine the confusion, the betrayal, the anybody who watched that wonderful television series, The Americans, which was exactly about a family like this in the United States posing as Americans. And they had children. And here it is in real life. And my heart breaks for those children. Okay, on that front, just one other thing, if you don't mind. No, two other things. I'm I'm losing my credibility. Two other things. Okay. One, I want to note something. It was noted by somebody else, and I'm going to note it as well. And it has to do with Joe Biden. Remember him? He happens to be the president of the United States. And as you know, Joe Biden had COVID, and Joe Biden was very, very. I mean, I can't imagine where his head was right before this deal got finalized that got all these people out. He was under extraordinary pressure to step down from running for a second term. The emotional uh, cacophony that would have been going on in his head would be hard to imagine. The I won't even go into. I mean, the anger, the sorrow, the coming to terms with it, like all those 7 stages of grief coming, the denial, the this, the that. And he's the president of the United States, meanwhile, and he feels like shit because he's got COVID, and he's trying to get a whole bunch of people in an extraordinarily complicated prisoner swap freed. And lest we not be appreciative of this president, it would do us well to remember what he did, because it was him, his skills, that were at the base of this release. So, an hour before he announced that he would step aside in his reelection campaign, this 81-year-old guy was on the phone with the president of Slovenia, working to close the deal. This was one of the last blocks that needed to be put in place. Strangely enough, the family I was talking about. There is Joe Biden trying to get that Slovenian spy family out of Slovenia to close the deal and get the American hostages home. Yeah, he's 81. He's got COVID. He's 1 hour away from announcing this painful, painful decision. And he's personally executing a complicated foreign policy maneuver that is saving lives. Could we have a round of applause for this great president, Joe Biden? And here's the other thing. Why wasn't Marc Fogel part of the deal? Marc Fogel, for those of you who don't know, is a Pennsylvanian. In fact, his mom lives in Butler, site of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Not that there's any relation there. His mom lives in Butler, PA. Marc Fogel was taken by the Russians when he returned to his job there, where he taught history at an American Russian kind of school. He'd been there since, I think, 2012. He was coming back. He's always had terrible back problems, fusions, laminectomies. I speak of them because I've had this stuff too. It's not fun, and he's in pain. And one of the things that he was given by a doctor in Pennsylvania was a prescription for medical marijuana to help the pain. He was carrying 0.6 ounces of that when the Russians nabbed him and jailed him for drug dealing or smuggling. I mean, my God, as bogus, less bogus than Brittany Griner on the same charge. She's since been freed. Why not Marc Fogel? God knows his family is asking the same questions. I don't know, but it leads one to wonder, does it not? Marc Fogel has an interesting history. He was a teacher in Oakmont, but he also taught in a lot of places around the world. So he taught in Venezuela, he's taught in Malaysia, in Oman, in Colombia, in Mexico, and then Russia for the last 12 years. And that kind of peripatetic, is that the word? That kind of nomadic teaching resume may suggest that maybe he was, in fact, really like a spy, being moved around, his cover being that he was a teacher. I don't know. But here's the thing, so what? The Russians did not detain him on spy charges. And in order to get released, you have to, the State Department has to designate you as wrongfully detained. That has to happen before you get on the lists where you can be swapped. And for some reason, Marc Fogel has not been designated as wrongfully detained. So go figure. I mean, really, go figure. I am flummoxed. It begs so many questions, does it not? Bree is being coy. I said, what'll happen if I get 1,000? He says, it will be amazing. AC writes, I just logged into my alternate Google account and subscribed there, so I now have 2 subscriptions. So now we only need 25. Rust Belt Expeditions writes, I think when you get 1,000, you can monetize your channel. Oh man, is that what it's about? That takes work. You think I'm going to monetize it? And I used to love doing ads, actually. I was good at it, I think, but I don't. I don't. Or you mean monetize it? You mean make you pay to listen to this? Ha! I wouldn't do it to you. Oh, Bree's back. He says, no, you'll get a plaque. And Rust Belt says, no, 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 you only get those for 1 million or 10 million subscribers. Okay, you guys, just stop. We'll get there. We're slow but sure. We're like the tortoise. Okay, just catching up on some of what you guys have contributed here. Ellen writes, I came to be a knitter later in life after a failed attempt to learn when I was a teenager. Knitting has actually become a big subject of study in the field of applied mathematics recently. Geez, knitting is indeed an amazing process. Yeah, I'm in total agreement. My God, it's amazing. Brilliant. And I'm just talking about the most basic stitch. Then there's all those others. But it's the basic stitch. It's the whole beginning of it that was so uh, just mind-blowingly ingenious. I have two quotes here that I came across, both from the Week magazine, and I love them both, so I shall share them now. This from Otto von Bismarck. Now, obviously, since he's long gone, he would have been saying this about he's talking about the United States. He would have been saying this about a country a bit different in some respects than we are today, but still, since mostly he's talking geography, I think it's to be noted. He said, von Bismarck, the Americans are a very lucky people. They are bordered to the north and south by weak neighbors, and to the east and west by fish. Now, I have some trepidation of saying that because, I don't want to diss Mexico and Canada as being weak neighbors because I wouldn't characterize them thusly, but they are not, of course, as strong as we are. But I love that. And to the east and west by fish. And von Bismarck, I mean, he's making a really, really important point that has informed our history throughout. We are, as a nation, positioned away from the trouble. We had this geographical separation from the lunacy, tumult, and ongoing blood feuds and wars of the European and Asian continents, right? And in those continents, there's countries that have borders with 4 or 5 other countries, and they've histories of warring across them left, right, and center. And we just, we're out here with the fish on our left and the fish on our right, and those nice Canadians up there in the north, and the Mexicans to our south. They're nice too. Don't mean to suggest they're not. We're lucky. That's von Bismarck. The other I found fascinating because it's also totally true. This is Arthur C. Clarke saying this: how inappropriate to call this planet Earth when it's quite clearly ocean. Yep. But see, we humanoids, we don't live on that biggest part of the planet, the ocean. The aforementioned fish claim that. We be on the earth part. And so, of course, we're going to, because we are who we are, going to suggest that we got the biggest share. We do not. The fish do. So there you have it. I mean, I know, like when we first got, those rockets went up and we got pictures of our planet from far away. How blue, how blue it looks, because it should be called ocean. Oh, guys, now where? Oh, so if you've been watching TV recently, and I just have to tell you, God help us all. I'm talking about those of us in Pennsylvania because the ads. I'm just saying the ads. I'm talking about ads, political in nature, which are, why do they run the same one like 3 times in a half hour? I mean, do we have them memorized now? I think. Kamala Harris, dangerous, dangerous. The border is secure. I mean, I am so sick of these ads. And guys, just want to tell you, I saw somewhere that you and I are going to be on the receiving end of the vast majority of the ads. Pennsylvania is the linchpin state. Of all the states in play, it's considered the most important, the most have to have, and as such, both sides are throwing most of their advertising dollars our way. So somewhere I had I can't find it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. The numbers, and it's frightening. We're in for this is what's going on now is nothing. It'll be a tsunami of this crap, and God help us. You won't be able to turn it on. You won't be able to turn. I just have it on mute. And if you see something looking interesting, you can put it up. But gee whiz, gee whiz. So I wish I could find it because it's a sizable number. How much more money is going to come in to advertising here? By the way, as somebody who escaped the confines of television, the TV business, let me just say that all of that money, these millions upon millions that are raised by the campaigns, such a huge percentage goes into this advertising, messaging, advertising, advertising, advertising. And those advertisements, those commercials, end up on your local television stations. The amount of money being raked in right now by television stations in battleground states would blow your mind. Blow your mind. And I remember once when I worked in TV, knowing the amount of money, and it was nothing compared to what we see now, coming in, and how none of it was shared with the workers, with us. It's not like they said, man, we got so much money coming in. It's millions upon millions upon millions upon millions. We could go advertisement free for the rest of the year. This is ludicrous. We're going to give everybody, a few thou. Ha! Yeah, that's correct. Um, have I gotten to anything of substance? I suspect not. But I believe I did predict that since Harris now is the standard bearer of the Democrats, that Trump will try to back out of the debate, the last debate that was scheduled. And sure enough, he is. He announced the other day that, in fact, the next debate will be not as planned on, I forget where it was planned on, NBC or CBS, I don't know, on one of the broadcast networks. It had been agreed to. But he unilaterally said it'll be on Fox with a live studio audience braying, a live braying studio audience, and he changed the date as well, moved it forward into September. And this is unilateral. And I don't know if you saw Harris's response, because it's wonderful. I share it with you now. Donald Trump is running scared and trying to back out of the debate he already agreed to, and running straight to Fox News to bail him out. He needs to stop playing games and show up to the debate he already committed to. The vice president will be there, one way or the other, to take the opportunity to speak to a prime-time national audience. We're happy to discuss further debates after the one both campaigns already agreed to. Mr. Anytime, Anywhere, Anyplace should have no problem with that unless he's too scared to show up on the 10th. September 10th is the date that was agreed to. So I like that. That was pretty dang, yes, to the point. Good. Thank you very much. By the way, speaking of Trump, he is sounding more and more deranged by the minute. He was, not that I listen, but I do collect this stuff out of those who are actually paid to trouble themselves by listening to his rantings in interviews and in rallies and stuff. He actually has now claimed one of his big talking points, very proud of it. He said, I have the #1 selling mugshot in history. Probably true. And he was here in Pennsylvania, again, very important state, and he twice mentioned the Senate candidates, Bob Casey, our incumbent Democrat, and the guy trying to unseat him, David McCormick, excuse me. Robert McCormick is somebody I used to know. David McCormick. And when Trump referred to David McCormick, he said he was running for governor. Now, imagine if Joe Biden had said such a thing, huh? We wouldn't hear the end of it. Hey, I got a new subscriber, it says here. Dana writes, please don't monetize your channel. It means YouTube will place multiple ads in your show from people like Trump and pay you like 0.05 cents an ad. Please don't add. Don't worry. Hey, Dana. Ain't happening. It ain't happening. I'm not, one of the benefits of being an old codger who's set. I'm fine. I don't need. I'm fine. I'm fine in my retirement. I'm fine. For even if I live to be 100, I don't think I'll be thrown out on the street. I own my home. I don't need more money, and I'm so sick of the people who don't need more money still scrambling to get more. I don't need more. I don't want more. Okay. Um, and especially if it means subjecting you to ads. So screw it. So hey, Bree, if I'm trying to get to 1,000 just to help YouTube get money, fuck that. It's not a game I'm even vaguely interested in playing. Oh, other things I found out since last we spoke. Um, Hang on, I'll get it. Stop and think of all the Republicans who have not endorsed the Republican candidate, Donald Trump. And what's interesting about the list, and I'm only going to do names you know, is every living Republican who held a position in the executive branch, president or vice president, or was married to, not a one will endorse Donald Trump. How many will actually cast their votes for Kamala Harris? We don't know, but they refuse to in any way aid or abet Donald Trump. And here's part of the list. It's also people who ran for the office. Dan Quayle, hey, and his lovely wife Marilyn. Elizabeth Dole, George Bush, Laura Bush, Dick Cheney, Lynn Cheney, Cindy McCain, widow of John, Mitt Romney, his wife Ann, Paul Ryan, his wife Jana, Mike Pence, and his wife Mother. Isn't that what he called her? I guess her name is Karen. That's pretty astonishing, and I suspect it's pretty hard to find any equivalent kind of mass diss happening on the Democratic side. I can't imagine why these guys aren't willing to get behind Donald Trump and his presidency, his attempted presidency. Listen to the people who do support him. These, again, I thank God. In this regard, thank God for social media because I just get to see little snippets because it's, know thy enemy. I think von Bismarck would have agreed that you should keep an eye on him. Don't think the fish are going to, protect you from everything, all threats, because our threat now is totally internal. Totally internal. Sebastian Gorka, ladies and gentlemen, one of Trump's trusted advisors and allies, said this about Harris. She's a disaster whose only qualification is having a vagina and the right skin color. She's a DEI hire. She's a woman She's colored, therefore, she's gotta be good. These are the guys who want to take America back. Way, way back. Jesse Waters, Fox News, Trump mouthpiece, saying, I heard scientists say, Fox News is quoting scientists? What? I heard scientists say the other day that when a man votes for a woman, he actually transitions into a woman. Is that a joke? It must be a joke. And these guys are funny, aren't they? Hardy, har, har, har. Also, Senator John Kennedy. No, not the one who became president and then got his head blown off. Senator John Kennedy, Republican of Louisiana, who's a frequent Trump surrogate, is going around the country calling Harris a ding dong and identifying her as a loon. This is, yeah. I can't imagine why all these former presidents and vice presidents and their spouses and people who aspired to the office on the Republican side of the aisle would be so absent from the Trump clown car. Wow. Oh, speaking of clowns, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Speaking of Kennedys, how nuts must this one be? I mean, seriously, how nuts must he be? I mean, we know how nuts he is, but you heard about the bear, right? You heard about the bear, right? The dead bear? Okay, well, if you didn't, here it is. Apparently, he's come out with a video trying to get ahead of a story that's coming out in the New Yorker that's going to say what he did with this dead bear. And he thought it would be best to tell the story himself. And apparently, the video is of him sitting with Roseanne Barr? Yeah, boy. There's a nutcases tend to, I guess well, it's understandable. People of a like mind or like lack of mind, tend to, yeah, coalesce. So he's explaining the thing to Roseanne Barr on the video, trying to get ahead of it. He tells her, I was driving through the Hudson Valley. He was on his way to go falconing. Remember when John Kerry was blown out of the water because he was seen parasailing? And it was like so effete. Oh God, way to make the hunting, fishing backbone of America think you are a dork. Well, I think falconry is even more so. I don't know. But he was driving through the Hudson Valley on the way to go falconing when he saw the van in front of him hit a young bear. So he did what anyone would do. He pulled his car over and dragged the bear to the car and threw it into his trunk. He said to Barr, it was in very good condition, and I was going to put the meat in my refrigerator. Yeah. Then, speaking of meat, after he went falconing, he went with his buddies that he went falconing with to some steakhouse where they ate a bunch of other meat, not bear meat, And then he headed to the airport because he had to get home. And then he remembered, oh, I got a bear in my trunk. Now, guys, this happened 10 years ago, okay? I don't know how old he is. How old is he? He's in his 50s. I mean, this was a grown man. So before he gets to LaGuardia, he stops in Central Park. And he decides he thinks it'll be funny. He drags the bear out of his car and puts it in Central Park and puts a bike. I don't know where he gets the bike. Did he have a bike in? I don't know. Puts a bike next to the bear, making it look like the bear was hit by the bike. I think since the bear was a rather large, it wasn't a cub, it was a young bear. If a bicyclist ran into the bear, I would think it'd be a bicyclist lying on the street with a bike and no bear to be seen. That's what I'm thinking. But there was this dead bear, and it was found. And it was a big enough story. A bear found in an autopsy was done, died of blunt force trauma. And the New York Times actually sent a reporter to cover this. This was 2014. And the report, it's not a big story, so the reporter they sent was a young reporter whose name was Tatiana Schlossberg. That would be Carolyn Kennedy's daughter, and that would be Robert Kennedy Jr.'s cousin. Now, she didn't know that it was her cousin who put the bear in the park, but now everybody knows. I mean, you can't make it up. That now worn phrase of our times. You cannot make it up. Um, I'm not a watcher of reality shows. I don't like them. I see how. I mean, they're just so uh, exploitative of not only people in them but the people watching. I find them offensive. I know a lot of people love them, so I'm not, whatever. I'm not telling you not to enjoy them. I can't. Um, but I came across a clause from a contract that people who are going to be in these reality shows have to sign. And a lot of the reality shows, are physical, like Survivor and that kind of thing. And here's part of what they sign. Let me find it here. I understand that such activities may cause me death, illness, or serious bodily injury, including, but not limited to, exhaustion, dehydration, overexertion, burns, and heat stroke. This is boilerplate verbiage in reality television contracts. But does it give anybody pause? Certainly not. Uneffing believable. Well, it's like if you ever went in for surgery, you know, you determined, I'm sorry, I'm in such agony. I guess they gotta fuse these vertebrae together, or I'm sorry, I've gotta, this has to be done. Nothing I can do about it. And they do make you, you sign this thing. And I'm sure most people don't read it. I would suggest you don't read it, frankly, because it does essentially say that what we are about to do to you, yes, could kill you. Now, probably won't, but yeah, there's always a chance something could go wrong and you are not coming back to this room. You are finished and done with. So, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I suppose it has happened that somebody is in there prepped, ready to go, and they come to you sign this thing, and they actually read it and they say, I'm out of here. I don't know, but it wouldn't be me. Okay, I'm going to end. No, I don't have time. Damn it. Damn it. I don't have time. I'll save it for tomorrow. Susan will be joining us. I'll save it for tomorrow. Oh, look what I just found. Strategists from both parties see Pennsylvania as a critical state for both Trump and Harris. Pennsylvania is also the state where Republicans and Democrats are investing the most in television ad spending. Democrats are spending more than $56 million on television ads in Pennsylvania. And Republicans are spending even more. Oy, that means you're going to get more Republican ads. 61 million. And that combined $117 million is going directly into the coffers of the TV stations from these parts. Man, there's a lot of smiling local TV execs these days. Ha! Jonathan just sent me this. I'm British, so I have never heard of a DEI hire. They make it sound like it's about hiring people that are not qualified. He gets that from the context in which it's always used. He said, so I can only assume it stands for Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka. DEI. Yes, yes, yes. Jonathan, bless you and thank you. Thank you so much for allowing us to end on that delightful note. And I will just end with one more quote, and then our time is up. This one from the late, great baseball player Satchel Paige, ladies and gentlemen. Don't look back. Something might be gaining on you.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.